Welcome to chapter 16 of the book of 2 Samuel. David is fleeing Jerusalem. He's went across the Kidron Valley, where the water goes into the Dead Sea from Jerusalem. And across this Kidron is the Mount of Olives. He's up into the Mount of Olives, maybe even further eastward. And as he's going, he's running across these people that are friends of his. We went through that in the last chapter. Sends one of them back to be sort of a spy. But now we run across something that's a little bit different. And David went through, I'll read this chapter as I mentioned. I'll be reading some of the Greek. Some people like to hear that. Ke David diilthe mikron apotis ros. Keidu siva topadarion Mephiboseth ircheto is apantisan avto. Ke zevgos onon episagemenon. Ke epavton diakosii arti. Ke iphi staphidon. Ke ekaton palate. Ke nevel inu. David went through a little way from Ros, wherever that was. And behold, Seba, the servant of Mephibosheth, arrived for meeting him. If you go back a couple of chapters, we'll find that this Mephibosheth was a son of Saul, and he was dropped when he was a baby, and both of his feet were paralyzed of some sort. He couldn't walk. He couldn't take care of himself. People had to take care of him, and he wasn't doing very good until David asked if there was anybody left from the family of Saul, and they mentioned that, he heard Ziba here was the main person that was taking care of the interests of King Saul at the time. So he called Ziba, but now many years have passed by, 40 years or so, but at earlier time, 40 years earlier, then this Seba came to David and told him that Mephibosheth, the son, was alive, and David said for Seba to take care of Mephibosheth, and everything that Saul had would be going to Mephibosheth, and Mephibosheth, is in the Greek, would be seated with him in his dinners every night, and he would be taking care of Mephibosheth. So now, as he goes across the river, this Ziba, the servant, arrived for meeting him, and a pair of donkeys being saddled, and upon them 200 breads, and an ephah of dried grape clusters, and 100 dried fruit clusters, and a skin flask of wine. Now, Ziba is ingratiating himself with David. Now, exactly why? Because David's fleeing Jerusalem. You would think that this man wouldn't care, but the story is what it is, and he apparently thought enough to bring these things to David, donkeys for him to sit on, and the breads for all the people. And the king said to Ziba, "What are these to you?" And Ziba said, "Well, the donkeys to the household of the king to mount, and the breads and the dried fruit clusters and dried grapes for food to the servants, and the wine to drink to the one faint in the wilderness." So it was wonderfully brought all this. And the king said, "Well, where is the son of your master, who is Saul?" King Saul. Ziba, who is now dead, of course. And Ziba said to the king, "Well, behold, he sits in Jerusalem, for he said, well, today the house of Israel shall return to me, the kingdom of my father." Now he's lying through his teeth. Mephibosheth didn't do that. You would think that David could see the ruse, because Mephibosheth never showed that type of pride that he would think that the house would come back to him. He was always bowing down to David and asking why, David would care about a dog like him, and a very humble man. So Now, why King David would believe this man, we don't know, but he apparently did, because it says, and King David said to Siva, well, behold, I give to you all as much as Mephibosheth. And Ziba said, I do obeisance. May I find favor in your eyes, O my master, O king. So everything that Mephibosheth had goes now to Ziba. And King David came unto Bahurim, and behold, from there a man came forth from out of the family of the house of Saul, just as Ziba was the servant to Saul. And the name of this man to him was Semai. So now here you have an epsilon iota, and normally it would be E, but with the diphthong, the diaeresis above the double dots, you separate these two letters in pronunciation. So se is always epsilon, Semai, and the epsilon by itself is E. Semai, son of Girah. He came forth coming and cursing. Now, he's not saying bad words. We think of today of cursing as, saying filthy words, but it's not what it is. Cursing in those days was saying, may your mother never bear children again, or may your father stumble down the stairs and break his leg, things like that. That's the cursing that they were giving out, not saying bad words. And he was throwing stones at David, pebbles of some sort, and at all the servants of King David. So this man sees him going out, humble, shame, and starts throwing out these stones and saying bad things. And the servants of the king and all the people and all the mighty ones at the right and from the left of the king. Well, this guy's got a lot of guts, because you would think that if he started doing that, they could kill him very easily. So for a man to do that, he must have been passionate over his dislike for David. Sort of today in 2020, a lot of people are passionate in their dislike of the president of the United States that we currently have. And I suppose that your dislike of somebody can take over even your good sense. And you may have more to lose than you would gain by doing this, but you're somehow out of control. This is what the Ziba, Semai. I was going to call him Shimi, is in the English. And thus Shimi said in his cursing, Go forth, O man of the bloodsheddings, murder, O man, the lawbreaker. The Lord returned upon you all the blood of the house of Saul, because you reigned instead of him, and the Lord gave the kingdom into the hand of Absalom your son. And behold, you are taken in your own evil, for you are a man of blood. It's poured it out on him. And Avasah, son of Zariah, said, and this is the brother of Joab. There were two brothers that were head of the military. He said to the king, Why does this dying dog curse my master, the king? Again, the dog, poor dog, has really a bad rap in the Bible. God, if you have money from a dog, then you can't use it as far as buying anything in the temple. Dogs were not looked at very good, and you go to some third world countries and you can see why. The dogs are just pretty mangy animals. But the United States has kind of taken this the opposite way and put them on almost made them gods, people, how they take care of their dogs and treat them better than people. But why does this dying dog curse my master, the king? Let me pass indeed. Get out of my way, and I'll remove his head. And the king said to Abasah, What is it to me and you, sons of Zariah? Even allow him, and thus let him curse. For the Lord said to him to curse David. And who shall say to him, Why do you do thus? So God said to do it, and he's doing it. David said to Abasah, and to all his servants, behold, my son, the one coming forth out of my belly, seeks my life. And moreover, now the son of the Benjamite, leave him the curse, for the Lord told him. So he's not harming this man. He didn't want him killed. God has told him to do it, then let him do it. But later on, we'll find out that things come back against his head in the next couple of chapters. If by any means the Lord may behold in my humiliation, and shall return good to me for his curse this day, well, so be it. And David went and all his men in the way. And Shimei went according to the side of the mountain, being next to him. He went and cursed, cast stones on him, and was strewing dust, really upset, mad. And the king went, and all the people with him, being faint, and they refreshed there along the mountain. And Absalom and every man of Israel entered into Jerusalem. That's his son, David's son. And Ahitophel was with him. And this was a powerful man that was a military leader, very brilliant. And he is now joining up with Absalom. And it came to pass when Hushai, the chief friend of David, came to Absalom, that Hushai said to Absalom, "Let live the king, let live the king." Now, Hushai was actually a friend of David, it says here, but David sent him back and told him to ingratiate himself with Absalom to find out what's going on, and then send via the two sons of the priests messages to David to let him know, and to confuse the things that Ahithophel spoke to Absalom to do. So Hushai now is going there to Absalom and ingratiating himself, "Let live the king." And Absalom said to Hushai, "Is this your act of kindness with your companion?" My father, basically. "Is this your act of kindness to my father? Why did you not go with your companion?" And Hushai said to Absalom, "No, but after whoever the Lord chooses. And this people and every man of Israel, I will be serving to him, and I shall sit down with him. And secondly, to whom shall I serve? Should I not serve before his son? That would be better. Just as I serve before your father, so I will be before you." Now, Absalom said to Ahithophel, after talking to this Hushai, "Give counsel for yourself, or to yourself, what we should do." So what should we do now? We're in Jerusalem. We have control of the city. And Ahitophel said, Ahitophel, English, Ahitophel in Greek, said to Absalom, "Enter to the concubines of your father." Remember, they mentioned that when David left, he put the concubines up on the roof of his palace to stay there to watch the palace. And I went through about the bull moose syndrome of the males and all that in a couple of chapters back. And here, what happens now is that Ahithophel is telling Absalom to enter to the concubines, have sex with them, the ones of your father, which he left behind to guard his house. And all Israel shall hear that you disgraced your father, and the hands of all the ones with you shall grow in strength. So he's basically disgracing his father by taking his women and having relations with them, and not only not in a secret place, but they pitched the tent belonging to Absalom upon the roof. And this is exactly what God said was going to happen in a few chapters back, when he, after David took Bathsheba, Uriah's wife, and then the curse of God upon David, that this would happen, that David did this in secret, but it would happen, something like that in the open. And here's happening what God said. And Absalom entered to the concubines of his father in the eyes of all Israel. And the counsel of Ahithophel, which he consulted in the first days, was in which manner as if he should ask anything by the word of God. Thus was all the counsel of Ahithophel, both to David and to Absalom. So his counsel was primo, was the best, and they listened to everything he had to say. But chapter 7, we'll go a little bit further on what all has happened here and find out about how Ahithophel loses. Well, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but we'll find out more about Ahithophel in chapter 17. I think it's in this chapter. So to find out, you'll have to join us in chapter 17. I hope you do. And until then, God bless.